Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Bill Stern with a Colgate Shave Cream Sports Newsreel.
Colgate Shave Cream and Bill Stern is on the air. Colgate Shave Cream and Bill Stern with stories rare. Take Bill's advice and you'll look keen. You'll have a face both smooth and clean. Colgate Shave Cream and Bill Stern.
The 512th edition of the Colgate Shave Cream Sports Newsreel, featuring America's most famous collector of yarns and stories. Some legends, some hearsay, but all so interesting we'd like to pass them along to you. And to do this, here is radio's #1 sports reporter, Bill Stern.
Hello, everybody. First, I want to thank all the great stars. Bill Powell, Frank Sinatra, Pat O'Brien, Ronnie Reagan, Tex and Jinx. All of you pinch hit for me while I was away. You did a wonderful job, and I'm deeply grateful to every one of you. Our guest tonight is one of the greatest baseball players of all time, Dizzy Dean. But before you meet Dizzy Dean, here is Real One. For courage and determination, no sports star tops Lou Brissy, the sensational young pitcher for the Philadelphia Athletics. Although forced to wear a heavy brace to support his left leg, which was shattered by a shell burst during the war, Lou has become in just 2 seasons one of the leading pitchers in the major leagues. Lou Brissy has licked his shaving problem, too. He's a brush and lather man, like many of you, and he chooses Colgate Lather Shaving Cream, and here's what he writes.
Dear Bill, my whiskers are plenty tough and used to give me some rough innings with the razor, but Colgate Lather Shaving Cream gets them so soft, so fast, my razor shaves me close and clean the first time over, not a trace of pull or scrape. You call Colgate Lather the shave cream of champions, but in my book, it's the champion lather cream for comfortable shaves that are always slick and smooth. Thanks for tipping me off to this perfect answer to the old stubble trouble.
And thank you, Lou Brissy. I know every man will agree when he tries Colgate Lather Shaving Cream, and here's why. Colgate Lather is light and it's fine-textured. It completely surrounds and softens each bristle. Yes, sir, that rich, stay-moist lather supports the whiskers so your razor doesn't pull or skid. Instead, it cuts through clean and smooth. It leaves your face feeling cool and relaxed. So try it, men. For really clean, cool, comfortable shaves, get Colgate Lather Shaving Cream, the lather shave cream of champions. Reel 2, portrait of the strangest fight on record. We've told you many strange stories about boxing, but this story of boxing is unlike any that you've ever heard before. Every word of this story is true. Yeah, it's so incredible that you may find it hard to believe. So listen then, ladies and gentlemen. Listen to the strange story of what might be the most amazing fight of all time. This fight took place back in the year of 1912, when the lightweight champion of the world was a rough, tough fighter named Ad Wolgast. Ad Wolgast, who'd battled his way to the top by beating all opposition to become the world's champion. That is, Ad Wolgast had beaten everybody but one man. That one man was another great fighter, a Mexican named Joe Rivers. That's why when these two fighters finally did meet, the eyes of the entire sporting world were on Ad Wolgast as he prepared to defend his title against Mexican Joe Rivers. The fight took place on July the 4th of 1912, and for the first 12 rounds, the crowd saw the dirtiest, the most vicious fight that's ever been fought. Then came the 13th round. The 13th round with the lightweight championship of the world at stake. And suddenly it happened. Both fighters lashed out with vicious rights at the same time. Each man struck the other man right on the chin at the same instant. Each fighter dropped down to the canvas. It was a double knockout. Both Ad Wolgast and Joe Rivers were knocked out cold at the same moment. It was the only double knockout ever scored in a world championship fight. However, that's not the end of this story. For exactly 11 years later, in 1923, had you been in the receiving room of a Los Angeles hospital one evening, you would have seen brought into that hospital the former lightweight champion of the world, Ad Wolgast. A few seconds later, another man was brought into the same hospital room. This second man was Mexican Joe Rivers. So, 11 years after these two men had wound up on their backs, stretched out side by side in a championship fight, these same two men were again on their backs, stretched out side by side, this time in a hospital. Wait a minute. There's still more to this absolutely true story. This and Mexican Joe Rivers met once again. For this year, Joe Rivers came to see Ad Wolgast. Yeah, this year, Joe Rivers did come to see Ad Wolgast, even though now, Ad Wolgast, the former lightweight champion of the world, is in an insane asylum. Reel 3, Profile of a Strange Man. This is the story of a man who was born in Lucas, Arkansas. This man was also born in Holden, Oklahoma. This man was also born in Bond, Mississippi. How can one man be born in 3 different states? Ladies and gentlemen, I do not know. But this man says that he was. So then, let's listen to the incredible story of a strange man who says he was born in 3 different states. He began his baseball career in the Western Association. In Houston, Texas, he fell in love with a pretty girl. He asked her to marry him in one of the strangest proposals of marriage ever made. For he said,
"Honey, what do you say we get married in a baseball park at home plate?"
"I'll marry you all right, but not at home plate."
Next, he joined the St. Louis Cardinals. With those St. Louis Cardinals, he became the most famous pitcher in baseball. Then, as fast as this young pitcher had come up, he went down just as fast. Ladies and gentlemen, everything I told you about this man actually did happen. His name was Dizzy Dean. And here he is, speaking in person, the most famous baseball pitcher of yesteryear, the immortal Dizzy Dean.
Good evening, Bill, and good evening, folks. I ain't a ball player anymore. I ain't a baseball broadcaster either. But I used to be, and a good one. What if I did say he slid into third? He was throwed out anyway. Besides, where did folks get off criticizing my grammar? Shucks, I only went to the 2nd grade. If I'd have gone up to the 3rd, I'd have passed my old man. I guess you wonder how I was born in 3 different places, like Bill just said I was. Well, one day, 3 newspaper men came to me and asked me where I was born. I didn't want to have them all print the same story, so I told one I was born in Arkansas, another I was born in Mississippi, and the 3rd I was born in Oklahoma. I ain't so sure about my birthday either. I always thought it was January the 16th, but my dad says it was August the 22nd. But I figure I ought to know best, since I was the one who was being born. But getting back to broadcasting, I like working in a broadcasting booth. You know what a broadcasting booth is? That's a hog pen with Venetian blinds. You ought to know, Bill. You've been in plenty.
You're so right, Tiz. And thanks so much. Good luck and good night, Dizzy Dean. I'll be back in just a moment with a strange story of a dead man. But first, here's Reel 4, Bob Warren.
Good brush and lather shaves depend upon 2 things, good blades and good shaving cream. If your blades satisfy, but your shaves don't, mister, you try Colgate Lather Shaving Cream. You'll see, Colgate Lather takes the roughness and irritation out of shaving, gives you the smooth, cool, comfortable shaves you're after. Right, Bill?
It sure does. Colgate Lather Shaving Cream has a light, fine texture that gets down to the base of your whiskers fast, and it stays rich and moist on your face. It doesn't dry out. The result is your razor doesn't drag or pull. Instead, it cuts through clean and smooth, and you get a slick shave, a cool shave that leaves your face happy all day long. Champions in every sport have discovered Colgate Lather Shaving Cream, so why don't you?
Right, for shaving comfort, shaving smoothness. Use the right cream, the light cream. Buy Colgate Lather Shaving Cream, the lather shave of champions.
Reel 5, Portrait of a Dead Man. That's what I said. This is the story of a dead man. But wait a minute. Let's go back and begin this story at the beginning. For this dead man was once a boy. An Italian boy who'd been born in a little town in Italy. And like most little boys, he was athletic. Only this Italian boy was a good athlete. When he was very young, he took up the sport of fencing, and he soon became an expert fencer. However, there's another side to the life of this young Italian athlete. For as a youngster, he was always getting himself into trouble. In fact, he got himself into so much trouble that finally, in desperation, his parents paid his passage to the United States to keep him from disgracing the family name. And so this young Italian boy left Italy, and he came to America. When he landed in New York City, he was broke, so broke that he had to take a job as a dishwasher. But even in New York, he still managed to get himself into trouble. This time, he got in trouble with the New York police. However, he was not put in jail. No. He wasn't put in jail. for he finally had made up his mind to keep out of trouble. That is, he made up his mind to keep out of trouble after his girlfriend had told him,
Look, will you listen to me? Why can't you behave yourself? Why must you always be in trouble? I'm getting sick of hearing about all the fights you get into. If you're such a great fighter, why don't you fight professionally? At least you'd get paid for it that way.
okay, so he'd be a boxer. And he did become a boxer, a good boxer. So good that he held his own with such great fighters as Jack Dempsey and Gene Tunney. However, this young Italian did not make boxing his career, even though he could have been a great boxer. For strange as it seems, this man, who could have been a great boxer, loved to write poetry. And he wrote good poetry, too. For it was this rough, tough prize fighter who wrote the following lines.
That beloved blossom, a baby's face, seems to be love's resting place. And a million kisses tenderly linger there in ecstasy.
Yeah, a rough, tough prize fighter wrote those beautiful lines. But he gained no fame as a poet, nor did he gain fame as a prize fighter. But he did make a living as a dancer. That is, he made a living as a dancer until one day when he went broke in San Francisco. And because he was broke in San Francisco, he went to a friend for help, a friend who gave him help. For this friend bought this young Italian a railroad ticket to Los Angeles, and it was in Los Angeles that he got his big break. For a short time afterwards, this young Italian was making $1 million a year. That's right. He was making $1 million a year. But not as a boxer and not as a poet. No, in Los Angeles, he became the greatest lover that the screen has ever known. For you see, this former Italian boxer and poet was Rudolph Valentino.
I'm the Sheik of Araby.
That's the incredible story of Rudolph Valentino. But maybe you'd like to know the name of Rudolph Valentino's friend. That friend who got him that railroad ticket from San Francisco to Los Angeles. The friend who enabled Rudolph Valentino to get his big break. That friend was famous then, and he's still more famous today. Yeah, he is famous. For this man who was responsible for giving Rudolph Valentino his first big break was Al Jolson. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the 3-0 mark for tonight. Next Friday night, we'll be back, same time, same stations, when our guest will be the famous baseball star Jackie Robinson. See you then. Until then, I'll be seeing you on the screen in the news of the day, newsreels at your favorite Lowe's or Associated Theaters. Now, till next Friday night at this very same time, this is Bill Stern wishing you all a good night.
Colgate Shape Remember Stern is on the air. Colgate Shape Remember Stern with stories rare. Take Bill's advice and you'll look keen. You'll have a face both smooth and clean. Colgate Shape Man Bill Stern. Colgate.
At last, a good-tasting way to help prevent tooth decay. That's new Colgate ammoniated tooth powder. Created in Colgate's research laboratories. Contains the revolutionary dental discovery that helps prevent new cavities. Plus, Colgate's exclusive foamy cleaning action and a refreshing minty flavor you'll enjoy. Get Colgate ammoniated tooth powder today. Economical 4-ounce size, only 43 cents. Who'll make the 1949 All-American football team? Read Bill Stern's preseason choice in the September issue of Sport Magazine on your newsstand today. Bill reveals inside tips on the football greats of the coming season that every fan should know. Read them in Sport, the outstanding picture and story magazine about champions in every field of sport. September issue out today. Portions of the Bill Stern Show tonight were transcribed and came to you from New York.
This is NBC, the national broadcasting company.